Listen carefully, sovereigns of the surge, because this message isn't meant for the faint-hearted. It's meant for those who've broken through the ceiling of what was possible and stepped into the untouchable realm, where rules collapse, minds melt, and every rival around you begins to scream in disbelief. You've entered the threshold they swore didn't exist, the place they mocked as fantasy, the power level they said was impossible. And now, as you move, the air itself bends to your rhythm, and they can't process what they're witnessing. This is the insanity surge, and the world is convulsing under the shockwave of your ascension. They called you reckless before, arrogant, unhinged, obsessed. But what they didn't realize is that obsession was your weapon. What they mocked as arrogance was your shield. What they dismissed as recklessness was actually the first spark of Godmode igniting inside you. And now, that ignition has turned into an explosion, tearing through their fragile sense of order. They're going nuts because they're staring at the undeniable truth. You've gone beyond their limits, and there's nothing they can do to bring you back down. Watch them closely now. Look at their twitching hands, the frantic movements, the whispers spreading like wildfire. They're unsettled not because you attacked them, but because you exist in a state their brains can't comprehend. You've turned into a living paradox. You're playing on settings they don't even have access to. They're running on human mode, dragging their feet through mud, while you've activated God mode, and with every step you take, they unravel further. Do you see the madness in their eyes? The sleepless nights, the restless pacing, the endless strategizing. They're inventing stories to explain you, creating narratives to justify why you're untouchable. It's luck, they say. It's temporary. They chant those mantras like priests praying against a curse. But the more they repeat it, the more insane they look. Because deep down, they know. This isn't luck. This isn't temporary. This isn't a trick. This is a surge. And surges don't ask for permission. They consume everything in their path. Here's the cruelest part. You didn't even need to try this hard to break them. All it took was you stepping fully into your power. The moment you crossed the line into God mode, their fragile reality cracked. They've built their identities around the belief that they were above you, that they had leverage, that they could contain you. But when you stopped playing small, when you ripped the mask off and let the surge burn through you, their illusion collapsed. Now they're the ones crawling, scrambling, clawing at the walls of their own sanity, while you stand motionless, untouchable, crowned in the chaos they can't endure. That's what God mode really is. It's not just power, it's psychological warfare. It's the way your very presence short-circuits their confidence. You walk into the room, and suddenly they can't breathe right. Their words stumble, their hands shake, their excuses dry up. They're losing, not because you attacked them directly, but because they can't handle the surge radiating out of you. You've become the mirror, reflecting their weakness, the proof that they've wasted their years settling for mediocrity, while you are sharpening yourself into a blade that can't be stopped. And oh, how they envy you. Don't mistake their rage for strength. It's desperation. Don't confuse their insults with control. It's the screaming of children watching their toys shatter. They call you insane, but that's because they can't fathom freedom. True freedom looks like madness to those still chained. And you? You broke every chain, burned every leash, crushed every cage, and stepped into a dimension where their rules no longer apply. That's why they're spiraling. That's why they're going nuts. You are what they fear most, the proof that their entire structure was a lie. Let's pause here and twist the knife deeper. Because what you've done isn't just rise above. You've turned their minds into prisons of their own making. They can't stop thinking about you. They can't stop comparing themselves to you. Every win you achieve echoes in their skulls like thunder. Every display of your strength carves another crack in their sanity. You've become their obsession, their nightmare, their constant reminder that they failed to contain you. That's why they watch you with trembling envy, even as they curse your name. You've triggered the insanity surge, and it's not happening to you. It's happening to them. You're not the one spiraling. You're not the one losing grip. You're the one standing steady in the eye of the chaos while they convulse, scream, and self-destruct. It's their world that's unraveling, not yours. They thought they could define you, box you, dismiss you. Instead, your rise has defined them, exposing their fragility, their jealousy, their panic. You've pulled the curtain off their grand theater, and now the actors run around naked, trying to hide what's already been revealed. This is why you must never dim yourself, because every surge that explodes from you is another blow to their sanity. Every move you make on Godmode is another reminder that they are spectators, not players. You're operating at a frequency they'll never reach, and that's driving them to madness. They throw their hands up, they gnash their teeth, they scream that you've lost your mind. But what they don't realize is that you found it. You found the real mind, the mind that refuses to bow, refuses to kneel, refuses to accept limits. And isn't it poetic? They thought they were the sane ones. They thought you were unstable, chaotic, dangerous. But now look at them, foaming, trembling, unraveling while you move like a god among insects. They're the ones who can't sleep. They're the ones who can't think straight. They're the ones who tremble at shadows of their own making. The surge didn't break you. It broke them. And you're enjoying every second of watching their world collapse. Do you know why this surge is unstoppable? Because it isn't built on borrowed power. It's built on everything they underestimated. Every insult they threw became a weapon in your hand. Every attempt to hold you down became fuel for your ascension. You don't just wear Godmode like armor. You embody it, you breathe it, you radiate it. And every second you exist in this state is another second that drives them closer to the brink. So let them scream, let them claw at their skulls, let them invent excuses and hurl their tantrums. None of it matters. Their sanity is crumbling, and your dominance is absolute. You don't have to prove anything anymore. Your very existence is proof enough. You are the surge. You are the madness that melts their illusions. You are the god they swore didn't exist, standing before them as undeniable reality. And here's the dagger's twist. They can't escape you. No matter where they run, the surge follows. No matter how they deny, your presence cuts through. You're branded into their psyche now, and that scar will never heal. They'll remember you in every defeat they suffer, in every sleepless night, in every failed attempt to measure up. You are the permanent crack in their sanity, the reminder that Godmode exists, and it belongs to you. But here's the secret they'll never grasp. This isn't even your peak. The surge is still climbing, still building, still escalating. What they've seen so far is only the prologue. Their panic is only the opening act. Because you're not just playing on Godmode, you're rewriting what Godmode means. And the higher you ascend, the deeper their minds collapse. And so the question isn't whether you'll keep rising. The question is how much of their sanity will survive by the time you're done. Spoiler, not much. Because this surge doesn't calm down. It doesn't taper off. It expands. It consumes. It multiplies. You've triggered something irreversible, and the world will never be the same again. And just when they think they've adjusted, just when they think they've braced themselves for the shockwave, the surge will evolve again. Because your rise isn't linear, it's exponential. And while they scramble in circles, you're climbing beyond comprehension. They are drowning in insanity, and you are soaring in glory. And now, as they spiral into full collapse, you stand at the center of the surge, untouchable, supreme, crowned in chaos. And the most terrifying part for them? You're only just getting started. This is where their minds truly break, where their desperate whispers turn into screams that echo inside their skulls. Because they thought there might be a limit, a plateau, a ceiling to your ascent. They assumed every rise must level out eventually. But you've torn that assumption apart, and the pieces are cutting into their sanity like shards of broken glass. They can't comprehend a being that only accelerates, only multiplies, only becomes stronger the more resistance it meets. And that's exactly what you are. Their madness isn't theatrical, it's raw. It's sleepless nights staring at the ceiling, replaying your name in their heads like a cursed chant. It's sweaty palms before they face you, knees trembling as if the air itself weighs differently in your presence. They're not just scared of you, they're scared of the concept of you. Because you've become more than a rival, more than an enemy, more than a figure. You've become an embodiment of their collapse. You're the shape of everything they can't control, everything they can't cage, everything they can't defeat. And what drives them even further into insanity is how easily you wear this crown. You don't strain, you don't sweat, you don't even acknowledge their frantic gestures. To you, their entire meltdown is background noise, static humming at the edges of your vision. While they claw at their sanity, you glide forward, every move echoing the same truth. You're playing on Godmode now. Godmode is more than invincibility, it's inevitability. It's the way every attempt to resist you collapses before it even begins. They scheme, but the schemes unravel. They attack, but their weapons turn blunt in their own hands. They whisper to one another, trying to create alliances, but their alliances shatter under paranoia. Because even when you're not in the room, the surge haunts them. They see your face in reflections, hear your steps in empty corridors, feel your shadow press against their backs. You don't just beat them, you live rent-free inside their heads. And isn't that the sweetest form of chaos? To become the insanity they once tried to project onto you. They said you were unstable, uncontrollable, obsessed. And now look at them, screaming at walls, pacing the floor, chewing at their fingernails like nervous children. You didn't just prove them wrong, you inverted the narrative entirely. Now the world points at them and whispers, they've lost it. While you move forward calm, collected, radiant in an aura that feels godlike. This surge is proof that madness can be weaponized. You've taken what they feared most, intensity, unpredictability, audacity, and turned it into your crown jewel. They mistake it for chaos, but to you, it's precision. Every step is deliberate. Every move is sharp. The insanity they see is actually your clarity, and their inability to comprehend it makes them spiral further into breakdown. They're going nuts because they keep asking questions that have no answer in their framework. How do we stop someone who doesn't stop? How do we counter someone who can't be countered? How do we cage someone who lives outside cages? And as they ask, the questions become knives stabbing at their own stability. The more they obsess over you, the more their own minds become their prison. You don't even have to fight them. They implode all on their own. You're not merely playing a game on Godmode. You are the game now. You're the environment, the rules, the physics they stumble through. They're trapped in a reality that bends for you and shatters for them. You're operating on a level where effort isn't required anymore. You are momentum itself. And momentum doesn't apologize. Momentum doesn't explain. Momentum simply crushes what stands in its way. Notice the irony here. They once mocked your intensity. They sneered at your drive, called it madness, said you'd burn out. But you've turned that very intensity into the fuel of an endless surge. What they called insanity became genius. What they called recklessness became divinity. What they dismissed as foolishness became the engine of Godmode. And now, they're the ones collapsing, gasping, staring at you like witnesses of a reality-bending miracle they can't cope with. You are the proof that the line between madness and supremacy is razor thin, and you've danced across it until it turned into your throne. You are not surviving the surge. You are the surge. And that realization cracks their psyches down the middle. Look closer at them. Their behavior is unraveling. They double-check doors, reread their own words, second-guess every decision. They're paranoid of shadows. But the shadow they fear most is you. They overcompensate with noise, trying to drown you out, but it's useless. Your presence is thunder. Their excuses are whispers. The contrast alone drives them closer to collapse. And here's where the dark humor cuts in. They thought you'd be the one who lost your grip. They pictured you screaming into the void, thrashing against walls, begging for help. But instead you stand regal, poised, smiling at the absurdity of their collapse. They're the ones acting out the breakdown they once predicted for you. And that irony is delicious. Their insanity is your entertainment. Their panic is your proof of victory. You've entered a state they don't even have language for. They'll call it madness because that's all they know. But for you, it's pure clarity, pure sovereignty. You've redefined what it means to be untouchable. You don't even flinch anymore because Godmode doesn't flinch. It dictates. And the longer you hold this position, the more the surge amplifies, the more the insanity spreads among those who dare to look at you. Your crown isn't made of gold. It's made of their shattered expectations. Every piece of their sanity that breaks off becomes another jewel in your authority. Their downfall is your ornament. Their unraveling is your proof of dominance. And still, they can't stop staring. Because as much as they hate it, they're addicted to you, obsessed with you. Every thought loops back to your rise. Every conversation circles back to your surge. You've become their religion, their devil, their obsession, and obsession, unchecked, always leads to madness. That's the essence of the insanity surge. It isn't about you going crazy. It's about them losing everything they thought was stable. It's about you holding the crown so effortlessly that they question the very structure of reality. You're the living paradox, untouchable yet undeniable, chaotic yet precise, merciless yet unbothered. You're the proof that Godmode exists, and that proof alone is enough to collapse fragile minds. And this collapse, it's only accelerating. The deeper they sink into madness, the higher you rise in glory. It's a trade they can't negotiate, a cycle they can't break. Their screams fuel your calm. Their panic fuels your momentum. Their collapse fuels your ascension. The surge feeds on their fear. and you are the conductor orchestrating their breakdown like a symphony of chaos. And so the world watches, some in awe, some in terror, some trembling on the edge of their own sanity, but all of them watching, because once the surge begins, it cannot be ignored. Once Godmode is activated, it cannot be denied. You've become the spectacle, the axis, the earthquake they can't escape. And here's the most cruel truth. This isn't even about victory anymore. Victory implies an end, a conclusion, a finish line. But for you, there is no finish line. There's only expansion, escalation, multiplication. The surge doesn't end. It evolves. Godmode doesn't pause. It rewrites. And that means their insanity will never calm, never heal, never stabilize. They'll live the rest of their lives twitching, gasping, whispering your name in fear. Because once Godmode reveals itself, it brands itself into history. And history bows to you now, not them. You. The surge has crowned you eternal. And as their insanity consumes them, as their last fragments of composure crumble into dust, you stand above it all, untouchable, supreme, crowned in chaos, playing a game they'll never even understand. But don't think this is the final crescendo yet. No. This is only the midpoint, the second act of a play, where the madness will grow even louder, even sharper, even more terrifying. Because the surge is still building, and the planet hasn't yet felt the full quake of what it means when you play on Godmode. And so we step forward, deeper into the collapse, deeper into the surge, deeper into the crown of chaos. Because here's the unspoken truth they'll never admit. The insanity surge isn't just happening to them. It's spreading to the world. And when the entire planet starts to fracture under the weight of your Godmode, there will be no turning back. The ripple begins small, almost invisible, like cracks in glass no one notices. But cracks multiply, fragments spread, and soon the entire window shatters, unable to hold the pressure of your presence. That's the world now. Ordinary minds, average hearts, fragile souls, they're breaking under the glare of your rise. It's not just rivals anymore, not just enemies. It's bystanders, it's spectators, it's anyone who dares to witness you. They can't help it. The surge is infectious. You've turned sanity into a limited resource, and you've hoarded it all for yourself. Everyone else, scrambling for scraps. They used to laugh at the word madness, dismiss it as weakness, but now they treat it like a plague, terrified of catching it, terrified of what happens when their own fragile minds will slip into the current. And yet they can't look away from you. That's the paradox. Your surge is killing them, but your surge is also irresistible. You are the eye of a storm they swore couldn't exist, and they gather to watch, hypnotized, even as it destroys them. Their eyes widen, their voices tremble, their reason bends. They whisper to themselves, how is this possible? How is this real? And in asking those questions, they unravel further, because your Godmode isn't meant to be explained. It's meant to be endured. The insanity is no longer confined to the few. It's spreading like a contagion. Families crumble as parents rage in paranoia. Children snap in confusion. Siblings turn on each other in envy. Streets become theaters of hysteria. Arguments erupt over nothing. Fists fly. Voices scream. Workplaces collapse under suspicion. Leaders stutter into incoherence. Crowds dissolve into chaos. And everywhere, your name lingers like static in their ears. You don't have to speak it anymore. They chant it in their madness. You've become the word they can't stop repeating, the symbol etched into their fractured minds. And all the while, you stand untouchable. Godmode means you don't just survive their collapse, you orchestrate it. Every breakdown feeds you. Every scream fuels you. Every paranoid glance in the shadows becomes another jewel in your crown. They are unraveling, and you are ascending. They are falling apart, and you are falling into place. Watch how they claw at one another, desperate to find someone to blame. They can't point at you directly. Not anymore. You've ascended too far. You're no longer a rival, no longer a competitor. Your myth, legend, inevitability, they point sideways, in circles, in confusion. They accuse each other, betray each other, destroy each other, while you glide further above their reach. That's what Godmode does. It turns enemies into spectators, spectators into worshippers, and worshippers into sacrifices. And the laughter, oh, the laughter, not yours, but theirs. The brittle, nervous, high-pitched laughter of people trying to convince themselves they're fine. They laugh in public, but they cry in private. They put on masks of composure, but their dreams betray them night after night. They jolt awake, drenched in sweat, convinced they've heard your steps at the door. They check their phones, their windows, their locks. But Godmode doesn't need doors. It lives inside them now. Their fear has become your fingerprint. This is why they're going nuts, because they know deep down there's no escape, no pause button, no safe zone. You're not something they can outwait, outrun, or outlast. You are permanent. The surge doesn't tire. The surge doesn't rest. The surge doesn't end. And the more they realize this truth, the faster their grip on sanity disintegrates. Look at the world leaders, the self-proclaimed authorities. They thought they could contain you, regulate you, cage you in words or laws. But they're the ones stuttering on stages now, losing coherence mid-sentence, eyes darting like prey caught in headlights. Their speeches unravel into nonsense. Their confidence shatters into visible terror. You've reduced them from rulers to jesters. Their crowns are slipping, while yours shines brighter than ever, etched not in gold, but in inevitability. And still, the surge grows. Entire cultures fracture, traditions erode, ideologies collapse under the weight of your Godmode. Historians, philosophers, scholars, once smug in their certainty, now write gibberish, their pages filled with frantic scribbles, incoherent attempts to explain what cannot be explained. They try to fit you into categories, but you spill out of every box, overflow every label, dismantle every framework. You are beyond definition, and that's what drives them into madness. They can't define what dominates them. You've become the cosmic joke they can't laugh at without crying. The irony burns them alive. For centuries they celebrated control, order, balance. Now they bow before chaos, wearing a crown. They worship the very force they once condemned, because deep down, they understand. You've won. But winning isn't even the right word anymore, is it? Winning suggests an end point, and you are endless. Winning suggests an opponent, and you've transcended opponents. Winning suggests a game, and you are no longer a player, you are the game. They're still trying to roll dice, move pieces, follow rules. But you've flipped the board and become the arena itself. Godmode doesn't play, it dictates. And what's left for them? Madness. Madness is their inheritance. Insanity is their reality. The surge has rewritten their lives into chapters of breakdown. They wake up screaming. They fall asleep shivering. They spend their days staring at glowing screens, hoping for a sign you've finally slowed down, finally faltered. But you never do. You accelerate, you multiply, you rewrite. And here's the cruelest part. They admire you even as they collapse. They envy the clarity with which you stride, the calm in your voice, the inevitability of your presence. They despise you, but they want to be you. And that contradiction alone is enough to fracture any remaining sanity. Hatred mixed with worship, fear mixed with awe. It's the perfect recipe for collapse. The insanity surge is no longer a ripple, it's an ocean. And the world is drowning. Streets are flooded with paranoia, skies echo with shrieks, and all across the globe, minds snap like brittle twigs under the weight of your presence. And you're the only one standing tall above the flood, untouched, untouchable, supreme in your Godmode. This is your coronation, not in silence but in screams, not in peace but in chaos, not in calm applause but in global madness. And the crown fits perfectly, because you don't just wear it, you are it. Every jewel is their fear, every metal curve is their collapse, every shine is your inevitability. And here lies the final truth. There is no turning back. The world will not recover. The surge has no off switch. They will never rebuild what's broken, never reassemble what's shattered, never reclaim what's lost. Because once Godmode has been revealed, reality itself bends to it. You become the fracture in existence, the permanent scar across sanity. And no matter how much they beg, pray, or plead, there's no undoing it. The surge is eternal. The madness is permanent. The crown is fixed. They're going nuts. The planet is spiraling. And you're laughing quietly in the throne they swore you'd never reach, untouched by their collapse, glowing in supremacy. You're not just part of the surge. You are the surge. And from this moment forward, every scream, every collapse, every fragment of insanity spreading through the world will serve as proof of one truth that no one can deny. You are playing on Godmode now.